What is the name of the seaway through the Arctic from Europe, north of Asia to the Pacific Ocean? Northeast Passage. The Northeast Passage is a shipping route through the Arctic Ocean, running along the coasts of Norway and Russia from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. Its navigability is increasing due to climate change, making it strategically and economically significant for international trade and geopolitics. How many Olympic Games have been cancelled due to world wars? 3. 3 Olympic Games have been cancelled due to world wars: the 1916 Summer Olympics, World War I, and the 1940 and 1944 Summer and Winter Olympics, World War II. These cancellations underscore the profound global impact of these conflicts on international events and institutions. Who wrote the music for what he described as an American folk opera, which was set on Catfish Row? George Gershwin. George Gershwin composed the opera, Porgy and Bess, which he described as an American folk opera. Set in the fictional Catfish Row of Charleston, South Carolina, it is renowned for its blend of classical music with jazz and blues influences, depicting the lives of African Americans in the 1920s. Which calendar was different from its predecessor because leap years did not fall on years divisible by 100 unless they were also divisible by 400? Gregorian calendar. The Gregorian calendar is the most widely adopted civil calendar globally, introduced in 1582 by Pope Gregory XIII. It refined the Julian calendar's leap year rule, stipulating that a year divisible by 100 is not a leap year unless it is also divisible by 400, to achieve greater astronomical accuracy. Where were the first modern Olympic Games held, from 6 to the 15th of April 1896? Athens, Greece. The inaugural modern Olympic Games took place in Athens, Greece, from April 6 to 15, 1896. This event marked the successful revival of the ancient Olympic tradition, initiated by Baron Pierre de Coubertin, and established the foundation for the international sporting spectacle we know today. Which territory has abandoned its capital city of Plymouth and has Braids as a de facto capital? Montserrat. Montserrat, a British overseas territory in the Caribbean, was forced to abandon its capital, Plymouth, following catastrophic volcanic eruptions from the Surya Hills volcano beginning in 1995. Braids has since served as the de facto governmental and commercial center for the island. Which medium-sized, burrowing, nocturnal mammal, native to Africa, is the sole representative of the mammalian order Tubulidentata? Aardvark. The aardvark is a unique, medium-sized, burrowing, nocturnal mammal indigenous to Africa, and it is the only extant species in the mammalian order Tubulidentata. Known for its powerful claws for digging and a long, sticky tongue, it primarily feeds on ants and termites. The Rhine flows into the North Sea near which city? Rotterdam. The Rhine River, one of Europe's longest and most significant waterways, discharges into the North Sea near the city of Rotterdam in the Netherlands. Rotterdam is home to Europe's largest port, and the Rhine's delta region is crucial for European shipping and trade. Which birds from around Papua New Guinea and brought to Europe were believed never to land and to be kept aloft by their plumes, because native traders had removed the wings and feet from the specimens? Bird of Paradise. Birds of paradise, native to the region around Papua New Guinea, were initially brought to Europe with their wings and feet removed by native traders. This led to the historical misconception that these exquisitely plumaged birds never landed and were perpetually airborne. The phrase, as green as grass, is an example of what? Simile. A simile is a figure of speech that directly compares two different things, typically using the words, like, or, as. The phrase, as green as grass, explicitly draws a comparison based on the color green, thereby exemplifying a simile. What was the name of the meeting that drafted the United States Constitution in 1787? The Philadelphia Convention. The Constitutional Convention, also known as the Philadelphia Convention, took place in 1787 to address issues with the Articles of Confederation. It resulted in the drafting of the United States Constitution, establishing a new federal government and outlining its structure. Who was awarded a Nobel Prize in 1908 for his work on the chemistry of radioactive substances? Ernest Rutherford. Ernest Rutherford, known as the father of nuclear physics, received the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1908 for his investigations into the disintegration of elements and the chemistry of radioactive substances. His groundbreaking work laid the foundation for understanding atomic structure and radioactivity. What is the Chilean desert between the coast and the Andes? Atacama. The Atacama Desert is a plateau in South America, stretching across a 1,600 km strip of land on the Pacific coast, west of the Andes Mountains. It is renowned as one of the driest places on Earth, characterized by its unique climate and high mineral deposits, particularly nitrates. From what does vinegar derive its sour taste? Acetic acid. Vinegar's characteristic sour taste is primarily due to acetic acid, carbon trihydride CuO, an organic compound produced through the fermentation of ethanol by acetic acid bacteria. This weak acid is responsible for many of vinegar's culinary and preservative properties. How long was the 100 Years' War, fought between England and France in the 14th and 15th centuries? 116 years. The 100 Years' War was a series of conflicts waged between the Kingdom of England and the House of Valois for control of the Kingdom of France. Despite its name, the war lasted for 116 years, from 1337 to 1453, fundamentally shaping the national identities of both countries. What is the highest mountain on the continent of Australia? Kosciuszko. Mount Kosciuszko is the highest mountain on the Australian mainland, standing at 2,228 meters, 7,310 feet, above sea level. Located in the snowy mountains of New South Wales, it is part of the Great Dividing Range and is a popular destination for hikers and nature enthusiasts. What is the name for an Australian Aboriginal spear-throwing device used to increase the power of a throw? Woomera. A woomera is an Aboriginal Australian spear-throwing device that functions as a lever to increase the distance and power of a thrown spear. This ingenious tool is a significant cultural artifact, demonstrating advanced understanding of mechanics and contributing to effective hunting practices. How many colors are present on the New Zealand flag? 3. The national flag of New Zealand features 3 colors, red, white, and blue. It is a blue ensign with the Union Jack in the canton and the Southern Cross constellation, 4 red stars bordered in white, on the fly. How many US presidents have been named Franklin? 2. Only 2 US presidents have carried the first name Franklin: Franklin Pierce, the 14th president, and Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd president. Franklin Delano Roosevelt holds the record for the longest-serving US president. Which measure of land area, defined in medieval England, represented the size of a field that could be ploughed by a yoke of oxen in one day? Acre. An acre is a traditional unit of land area, historically defined in medieval England. It was conceptually based on the amount of land a yoke of oxen could plough in a single day, illustrating its practical origins in agriculture. Following the Battle of Borodino, which city experienced a 4-day fire that destroyed an estimated 3/4 of its area? Moscow. After the Battle of Borodino in 1812, Napoleon's Grande Army occupied Moscow. Shortly after their entry, a massive fire broke out, destroying most of the city and significantly hindering Napoleon's campaign in Russia. An axolotl is the larval or early form of which amphibian? Salamander. The axolotl, Ambystoma mexicanum, is a neotenic salamander, meaning it retains its larval features, such as external gills, throughout its adult life. It is native to several lakes, such as Lake Xochimilco, in Mexico City. Which painting by Edouard Manet was initially condemned by critics as incompetent and subversive, significantly damaging his reputation for years? Olympia. Edouard Manet's Olympia, exhibited in 1865, provoked outrage for its stark portrayal of a nude prostitute directly confronting the viewer. This radical departure from traditional academic nudes challenged societal norms and art conventions, leading to widespread critical condemnation. Which soprano, who had a highly successful opera career between 1968 and 2004, sang Handel's Let the Bride Seraphim at the wedding of Charles, Prince of Wales, and Lady Diana Spencer? Kirite Kanawa. Kirite Kanawa is a renowned New Zealand opera singer, celebrated for her exquisite soprano voice. Her performance at the 1981 royal wedding of Charles and Diana brought her international recognition and is considered a significant moment in her illustrious career, showcasing her talent to a global audience. Amortization is similar to depreciation. Amortization and depreciation are accounting concepts used to systematically spread the cost of an asset over its useful life. Depreciation typically applies to tangible assets, accounting for their wear and tear, while amortization refers to the expensing of intangible assets, such as patents or copyrights, over a period. The Battle of Bull Run was fought in which war? American Civil War. The Battle of Bull Run, also known as the First Battle of Manassas, was the first major land battle of the American Civil War. Fought on July 21, 1861, it resulted in a Confederate victory, surprising the Union and signaling that the conflict would be a long and arduous struggle. Which architect died after being hit by a tram in the streets of Barcelona? Antoni Gaudí. Antoni Gaudí was a celebrated Spanish architect, renowned as the master of Catalan modernism. His unique works, largely concentrated in Barcelona and including the iconic Sagrada Familia, are UNESCO World Heritage Sites. He tragically died in 1926 after being struck by a tram, having dedicated his life to his distinctive architectural vision. What is the common name for decompression sickness? Bends. Decompression sickness, commonly known as the bends, is a medical condition caused by a rapid reduction in the surrounding pressure. It primarily affects scuba divers who ascend too quickly, leading to the formation of nitrogen bubbles in body tissues, which can cause pain, neurological symptoms, and potentially life-threatening conditions. In England, what form of punishment was abolished by the Criminal Justice Act of 1948? Hard labor. Hard labor was a severe form of penal servitude involving strenuous physical work, historically used as punishment in the English legal system. The Criminal Justice Act of 1948 significantly reformed the British penal system, abolishing practices like hard labor, penal servitude, and solitary confinement, moving towards more rehabilitative approaches. What name was given to people who believed that James II and his descendants were the rightful rulers of Britain? Jacobites. The Jacobites were a political movement in Great Britain and Ireland advocating for the restoration of the Roman Catholic House of Stuart to the British throne. Their support was particularly strong for James II and VII, and later his son James Francis Edward Stuart, the Old Pretender, and grandson Charles Edward Stuart, Bonnie Prince Charlie, following the Glorious Revolution of 1688. What is the name for the masses of lymphoid tissue between the nose and throat that are sometimes removed by an operation in cases where enlargement is having a detrimental effect on health? Adenoids. Adenoids are a mass of lymphoid tissue located in the nasopharynx, part of the immune system. When enlarged, they can obstruct breathing and cause recurrent infections, often necessitating surgical removal, known as adenoidectomy. Who, after making a living painting porcelain and sunblinds, became well known due to such paintings as Portrait of William Cicely and Skaters in the Bois de Boulogne. Renoir. Pierre-Auguste Renoir was a leading French Impressionist painter, renowned for his vibrant and sensual works. His paintings often depicted everyday life, portraits, and landscapes, capturing the changing effects of light and atmosphere characteristic of the Impressionist movement. What is the name for an expert on reptiles? Herpetologist. A herpetologist is a zoologist specializing in the study of amphibians, frogs, toads, salamanders, and reptiles, snakes, lizards, turtles, crocodiles. This field of study, known as herpetology, involves researching their ecology, evolution, physiology, and conservation. Who was the Greek goddess of victory, daughter of Pallas, represented as a winged figure wreathed or palm-bearing, sometimes guiding victors' horses? Nike. Nike is the ancient Greek goddess of victory, often depicted as a winged figure. She was closely associated with triumphant athletes, warriors, and artistic competitions, serving as a symbol of success and achievement in various aspects of Greek life and mythology. What is the name of the geochemical component that has no known terrestrial counterpart, which was discovered in the Genesis rock retrieved during the Apollo 15 mission? Kryp. Kryp is a geochemical component of some lunar rocks, an acronym for K, potassium, Re, rare earth elements, and P, phosphorus. Its discovery in samples like the Genesis rock from the Apollo missions provided crucial insights into the Moon's early differentiation and magmatic processes, as it is largely absent in terrestrial rocks. Michelangelo's famous frescoes are on the ceiling of what area of the Vatican? Sistine Chapel. Michelangelo's iconic frescoes adorn the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, located within the Vatican City. Commissioned by Pope Julius II, this monumental artwork depicts 9 scenes from the Book of Genesis, including the famous creation of Adam, and is a cornerstone of high Renaissance art. The United States deployed combat units in 1965 into which war to prevent a communist takeover of Southeast Asia, part of a wider strategy called containment? The Vietnam War. The Vietnam War was a significant Cold War conflict where the US intervened in 1965 to prevent communist expansion in Southeast Asia. This intervention was part of the broader US foreign policy of containment, aimed at limiting the spread of communism globally. Which chemist and physicist established the basis for the magnetic field concept, discovered electromagnetic induction, diamagnetism, laws of electrolysis, and benzene, invented devices that are the basis of electric motor technology, and popularized words such as anode, cathode, electrode, and ion? Michael Faraday. Michael Faraday was a pioneering British scientist whose discoveries in electromagnetism and electrochemistry laid the foundation for much of modern technology. His work on electromagnetic induction was crucial for the development of electric motors and generators, profoundly influencing electrical engineering. Which branch of astronomy studies radiation with wavelengths greater than approximately 1 mm? Radio astronomy. Radio astronomy is a specialized branch of astronomy that focuses on studying celestial objects by detecting their radio emissions. Unlike optical astronomy, it uses radio telescopes to observe phenomena at much longer wavelengths, revealing unique insights into the universe that are invisible to the human eye. What is the capital of the province of Nova Scotia, Canada? Halifax. Halifax is the capital city of Nova Scotia, one of Canada's Atlantic provinces. It is a major economic centre and a significant port on the east coast, renowned for its rich maritime history and strategic importance. Which German-American structural engineer and designer was chief engineer for the construction of the Golden Gate Bridge, San Francisco? Joseph Strauss. Joseph Strauss was the chief engineer responsible for the design and construction of the iconic Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. His leadership was instrumental in overcoming numerous engineering and logistical challenges to complete this monumental suspension bridge, which opened in 1937. What aspect of the Japanese surrender that ended World War II occurred on the 2nd of September 1945? Surrender document signed in Manila. The formal surrender of Japan, which officially marked the end of World War II, occurred on September 2, 1945. The instrument of surrender was signed aboard the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay, not Manila, bringing an end to the global conflict. Which German-born composer became a naturalized Englishman, wrote 30 operas in the 18th century, and is more famous now for his oratorios such as The Messiah? George Handel. George Friedrich Handel, 1685–1759, was a German-born Baroque composer who spent most of his career in London, becoming a naturalized British subject in 1727. He is renowned for his operas, oratorios, like Messiah**, and anthems, shaping the sound of 18th-century music. After World War II, Emperor Hirohito of Japan signed the treaty ending the state of war with Britain on the 9th of September of which year? 1951. The Treaty of San Francisco, signed in September 1951, formally ended the state of war between Japan and most of the Allied powers, including Britain. Emperor Hirohito's signature marked Japan's re-entry into the international community following World War II. What word best describes a triangle where all angles are less than 90 degrees? Acute. An acute triangle is a triangle in which all three interior angles are acute, meaning each angle measures less than 90 degrees. This contrasts with obtuse triangles, one angle greater than 90 degrees, and right triangles, one angle equals 90 degrees. What is the mountain range in Central Asia west of the Himalayas, the highest point of which is Tirik Mir? Hindu Kush. The Hindu Kush is a major mountain range spanning Central Asia, primarily in Afghanistan and Pakistan, located west of the Himalayas. Its highest peak is Tirik Mir, standing at 7,708 meters, 25,289 feet, making it a significant geographical feature of the region. What is the science of weather and climate? Meteorology. Meteorology is the scientific study of the Earth's atmosphere, focusing on weather processes and forecasting. It encompasses the analysis of atmospheric phenomena, climate patterns, and their interactions with the Earth's surface and oceans. What is the name for the 7 kingdoms into which England was supposedly divided in the early Middle Ages? Heptarchy. The Heptarchy refers to the period of Anglo-Saxon history in England, generally from the 6th to the 9th centuries, characterized by the existence of 7 independent kingdoms: Northumbria, Mercia, East Anglia, Essex, Kent, Sussex, and Wessex. These kingdoms eventually consolidated into the Kingdom of England. Which state donated the land occupied by the U.S. capital city Washington, District of Columbia? Maryland. The land for the District of Columbia, where Washington, D.C. is located, was primarily ceded by Maryland and Virginia in 1790. Maryland provided the majority of the land, north of the Potomac River, to establish the nation's capital as a distinct federal district. Who created the characters of Willy Loman, Joe Keller, and Eddie Carbone? Arthur Miller. Arthur Miller was a prominent American playwright whose works often explored themes of the American dream, guilt, and social responsibility. Willie Loman, Death of a Salesman, Joe Keller, All My Sons, and Eddie Carbone, A View from the Bridge, are iconic characters from his critically acclaimed plays. What is the second largest organ in the human body, located under the diaphragm on the right-hand side? Liver. The liver is a vital organ performing numerous functions, including detoxification, protein synthesis, and the production of biochemicals necessary for digestion. Weighing about 1.5 kilograms, it is the largest internal organ and second largest overall after the skin. Which category of musical instruments includes the flute, oboe, clarinet, and bassoon? Woodwind. Woodwind instruments produce sound by vibrating a column of air within the instrument. They are characterized by their method of sound production, either by blowing across an edge, flute, or by using a reed, clarinet, oboe, bassoon. Which mythological Greek hero, the son of Telamon and Peribea and king of Salamis, plays an important role in Homer's Iliad? Ajax. Ajax, also known as Ajax the Greater, was a celebrated hero in Greek mythology, renowned for his strength and courage. He was a prominent figure in the Trojan War, described in Homer's Iliad as second only to Achilles among the Achaeans. What is the chief river of Uganda? White Nile. The White Nile is one of the two main tributaries of the Nile River, flowing north from Lake Victoria through Uganda and South Sudan. It is a crucial water source for the region, supporting agriculture and providing fresh water. By what name is Domenikos Theotokopoulos better known? El Greco. Domenikos Theotokopoulos, widely known as El Greco, meaning the Greek, was a prominent painter, sculptor, and architect of the Spanish Renaissance. His unique style, characterized by elongated figures and dramatic lighting, made him a precursor of both Expressionism and Cubism. John McCain's running mate for the 2008 U.S. presidential election was the governor of which state? Alaska. Sarah Palin, then the governor of Alaska, was selected as John McCain's running mate for the Republican Party in the 2008 U.S. presidential election. This choice generated significant media attention and was a key factor in the campaign's dynamics. What range of mountains separates Europe from Asia and runs from the Arctic to the Caspian Seas? Ural Mountains. The Ural Mountains are a major geographical range that forms a natural boundary between Europe and Asia, extending from the Arctic Ocean down to the Ural River and Kazakhstan. This ancient mountain system is known for its abundant mineral resources and diverse ecosystems. What was the hooped framework, often made of whalebone, used for a petticoat, a fashion introduced to England by Catherine of Aragon in 1501, and prevalent until the 17th century? Farthingale. The farthingale was a foundational garment from the late 15th to the early 17th centuries, utilizing a rigid hoop structure to dramatically shape the skirts of women's dresses. Its introduction marked a significant shift in European fashion silhouettes, influencing attire across various social strata. From 1797 to 1805 and from 1814 to 1866, the city of Venice was part of what country? Austria. After the collapse of the Venetian Republic in 1797, Venice was repeatedly brought under Austrian dominion through treaties like Campo Formio and the Congress of Vienna. This period of foreign rule ended with Venice's annexation to the Kingdom of Italy in 1866. The Houston Ship Channel connects the city of Houston, Texas, to what body of water? Gulf of Mexico. The Houston Ship Channel is a vital 50-mile waterway providing access from the port of Houston to the Gulf of Mexico. It is instrumental in Houston's status as a major international port, facilitating significant maritime commerce. Which English composer wrote The Planets, Somerset Rhapsody, and the ballet The Perfect Fool? Gustav Holst. Gustav Holst was a distinguished English composer renowned for his orchestral suite, The Planets, which remains one of the most widely performed works in the classical repertoire. His compositions often blended influences from English folk music and Eastern mysticism. Around 1910, the White Star Line was constructing three sister ships, the Titanic, the Gigantic, later named the Britannic, and which other? The Olympic. The Olympic-class ocean liners were a trio of prominent vessels built for the White Star Line in the early 20th century, comprising the RMS Olympic, RMS Titanic, and HMHS Britannic. These ships were designed for luxury transatlantic travel, though their fates varied significantly. Which German Nazi leader flew solo from Augsburg in 1941 and landed by parachute near Glasgow on a private peace mission? Rudolf Hess. Rudolf Hess, deputy Führer of the Nazi Party, famously flew solo to Scotland in May 1941, landing near Glasgow. His motive for this unauthorized, peace mission, remains a subject of historical debate and speculation. He was subsequently arrested and held as a prisoner of war. In which state of the USA would you find the Great Salt Lake? Utah. The Great Salt Lake, located in Utah, is the largest saltwater lake in the Western Hemisphere. It is an endorheic lake, meaning its water inflow equals its evaporation, and is a remnant of the prehistoric Lake Bonneville. Who was the daughter of Prophet Muhammad and his first wife Khadija? Fatima Zahra. Fatima Zahra was the youngest daughter of Prophet Muhammad and his first wife, Khadija. She holds immense significance in Islam, particularly in Shia Islam, as an exemplary figure of piety and a key ancestor of the Imams. Which country, whose chief port is La Guaira, became a republic after seceding from the Republic of Colombia in 1830? Venezuela. Venezuela officially seceded from Gran Colombia and established itself as an independent republic in 1830. La Guaira serves as its primary port, playing a vital role in the country's economic and maritime trade. What is the capital of Mongolia, located on the Toul River? Ulaanbaatar. Ulaanbaatar is the capital and largest city of Mongolia. Situated on the Toul River, it serves as the country's cultural, industrial, and financial heart. Who abdicated on April 30, 1980, her 71st birthday, and was succeeded by Queen Beatrix of the Netherlands? Queen Juliana. Queen Juliana of the Netherlands abdicated on her 71st birthday, April 30, 1980, after a reign of 32 years. Her daughter, Beatrix, ascended to the throne, continuing the monarchical succession in the House of Orange-Nassau. What is the name for an instrument used for sending messages by reflecting light from a movable mirror? Heliograph. A heliograph is a wireless telegraph that signals by flashes of sunlight, or artificial light, reflected by a mirror. It was historically used for long-distance communication, especially in military and surveying applications, due to its simplicity and range. Which city in Tennessee shares its name with an ancient Egyptian city named after King Menes? Memphis. The city of Memphis, Tennessee, is named after the ancient capital of Egypt, which was founded by King Menes. Both cities have significant historical and cultural importance in their respective regions. Which English computer scientist and MIT professor, credited with inventing the World Wide Web, implemented the first successful communication between an HTTP client and server via the Internet on December 25, 1990? Sir Timothy John Berners-Lee. Sir Timothy John Berners-Lee is a British computer scientist widely regarded as the inventor of the World Wide Web. His foundational work in 1990, including the development of HTTP, HTML, and URLs, laid the groundwork for modern Internet communication. The Entente Cordiale, signed on April 8, 1904, was a pact to resolve all outstanding issues between France and which other country? Great Britain. The Entente Cordiale was a series of agreements signed on April 8, 1904, between the United Kingdom and France. This pact resolved long-standing colonial disputes and improved diplomatic relations, significantly impacting the geopolitical landscape leading up to World War I. What is the more common name for the disease historically known as consumption? Tuberculosis. Consumption is the historical term for tuberculosis, TB, a highly infectious bacterial disease primarily affecting the lungs. The name, consumption, referred to the severe weight loss and wasting seen in patients suffering from the advanced stages of the illness. What type of aircraft power plant uses a gas turbine to drive a propeller? Turboprop. A turboprop engine is an aircraft power plant that uses a gas turbine to drive a propeller. This design combines the power of a jet engine with the efficiency of a propeller, making it suitable for regional aircraft and cargo planes. What is the name for radiations of a wavelength longer than and immediately next to the visible spectrum? Infrared. Infrared, IR, radiation is a type of electromagnetic radiation with wavelengths longer than visible light but shorter than microwaves. It is often associated with heat and is utilized in various technologies, including thermal cameras, night vision devices, and remote controls. Where did Colonel James Bowie and Davy Crockett die fighting Mexican forces? Alamo. The Alamo is a historic mission and fortress compound in San Antonio, Texas, known for the 1836 Battle of the Alamo during the Texas Revolution. Legendary figures like Colonel James Bowie and Davy Crockett were among the defenders who perished fighting against overwhelming Mexican forces. Where is the only place you could see an emu in its native environment? Australia. The emu, Dromaeus novaehollandi, is the second largest living bird by height, endemic to Australia. It is found across most of mainland Australia and is a prominent part of the country's native wildlife and ecosystems. Who received the first Nobel Prize for Literature to be awarded to a British writer? Rudyard Kipling. Rudyard Kipling was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1907, making him the first English-language writer to receive this honor. He was recognized for his literary works, including The Jungle Book and Kim, which showcased his power of observation and imaginative storytelling. What was unusual about the newspaper published on board the liner Etruria in the mid-Atlantic Ocean in February 1903? It was based on news reports transmitted from Britain by radio. The newspaper published on the Etruria in 1903 was remarkable for its time as it sourced news reports transmitted from Britain via radio. This innovative use of early wireless telegraphy allowed passengers to receive timely news updates while at sea, showcasing a significant step in long-distance communication. Which American author wrote The Call of the Wild, White Fang, The Sea Wolf, and The Game? Jack London. Jack London was a prominent American novelist and short story writer, celebrated for his adventure stories set in the Yukon and other challenging environments. His works often explored themes of nature, survival, and social Darwinism, establishing him as a significant figure in American literature. Which canal operated along the banks of the Potomac in Maryland from 1850 to 1924 and connected Cumberland, Maryland, to Washington, D.C., allowing freight to be transported around the Great Falls of the Potomac River? Chesapeake and Ohio Canal. The Chesapeake and Ohio Canal, C&O Canal, was a historic waterway crucial for transporting coal and other goods. Operating alongside the Potomac River, it connected Cumberland, Maryland, to Georgetown in Washington, D.C., effectively bypassing the formidable Great Falls of the Potomac. Humidity measures the quantity of water vapor in the air as a percentage by what? Volume. Humidity quantifies the amount of water vapor in the atmosphere. Absolute humidity specifically measures the mass of water vapor per unit volume of air, often expressed in grams per cubic meter, indicating the density of water vapor present. How many states are there in Australia? 6. Australia is a federal parliamentary democracy and constitutional monarchy, comprised of 6 states and several territories. The 6 states are New South Wales, Queensland, South Australia, Tasmania, Victoria, and Western Australia, each with its own parliament and government. The Boston Tea Party, where tea was tipped into the harbour to protest taxation, precipitated what historical event? American Revolution. The Boston Tea Party, a pivotal act of colonial defiance on December 16, 1773, saw American colonists destroy chests of tea in Boston Harbor to protest British taxation policies. This event significantly escalated tensions between Great Britain and its American colonies, directly contributing to the outbreak of the American Revolution. What is the branch of the Mediterranean Sea between Italy and the Balkans, with ports such as Bari, Venice, and Trieste? Adriatic Sea. The Adriatic Sea is a body of water separating the Italian peninsula from the Balkan Peninsula, forming part of the wider Mediterranean Sea. It is strategically important, featuring major port cities like Venice, Bari, and Trieste, which have historically served as crucial trade hubs and cultural crossroads. What mathematical tabular system was invented in 1614 by John Napier that changes calculations of, for example, multiplication and finding square roots to addition and division respectively? Logarithms. Logarithms, invented by John Napier in 1614, are a mathematical tool designed to simplify complex calculations. They transform multiplication and division into simpler addition and subtraction, respectively, and allow for easier computation of powers and roots, significantly advancing fields like astronomy and engineering. How did Eric Robert Rudolph, an American terrorist, try to disrupt the Summer Olympics in 1996 in Atlanta? Detonated a bomb at the Centennial Olympic Park. Eric Robert Rudolph was an American domestic terrorist responsible for the 1996 Centennial Olympic Park bombing during the Summer Olympics in Atlanta. He detonated a pipe bomb, killing 2 people and injuring over 100, as an act of protest against the US government and abortion. Who perfected a process in 1880 for making sensitive gelatin dry plates for photography, and patented photographic roll film in 1884? George Eastman. George Eastman was an American entrepreneur and innovator who played a pivotal role in the popularization of photography. He perfected the process for making sensitive gelatin dry plates and invented photographic roll film, making photography accessible to the masses and founding the Eastman Kodak Company. What infectious disease is characterized by catarrh of the respiratory tract and paroxysms of coughing? Whooping cough. Whooping cough, also known as pertussis, is a highly contagious respiratory infection caused by the bacterium Bordetella pertussis. It is characterized by severe, uncontrolled coughing fits, often followed by a distinctive, whooping sound when the person breathes in, and is preventable through vaccination. The USS Constitution, launched in 1797, earned the nickname of Old Ironsides, when she defeated the British warship HMS Guerriere in the War of 1812. What is her hull made of? Wood. The USS Constitution is a historic wooden-hulled, 3-masted heavy frigate of the United States Navy, launched in 1797. She earned her famous nickname Old Ironsides during the War of 1812 because British cannonballs were observed bouncing off her strong oak hull. She remains the oldest commissioned naval vessel afloat in the world. Pi, a mathematical constant whose value is the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, is the same value as what other ratio? A circle's area to the square of its radius. Pi is a fundamental mathematical constant, approximately 3.14159, representing the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. Equivalently, it is also the ratio of a circle's area to the square of its radius. This constant is indispensable in geometry, trigonometry, and numerous scientific and engineering fields. In England, the estates of the realm are the clergy, the lords, and the commons. What is known as the Fourth Estate? The press. The Fourth Estate is a term commonly used to refer to the press or news media. It signifies the substantial role of journalism in influencing public opinion and acting as a vital check on the powers of the traditional three estates, clergy, nobility, and commoners, or legislative, executive, and judiciary branches. Which one of the 4 provinces of Ireland includes Northern Ireland and 3 counties in the Republic of Ireland? Ulster. Ulster is one of the 4 traditional provinces of Ireland, located in the northern part of the island. Historically, it comprises 9 counties, with 6 forming Northern Ireland, part of the United Kingdom, and the remaining 3, Cavan, Donegal, and Monaghan, belonging to the Republic of Ireland. This geographical and political division is a significant aspect of Irish history. Opened in February 1907, what was built on the site of Newgate Prison? Criminal Courts of Justice, Old Bailey. The Central Criminal Court, widely known as the Old Bailey, was officially inaugurated in February 1907. It was constructed on the historic site of Newgate Prison in London, which had been demolished in 1902. The Old Bailey remains one of the world's most renowned criminal courts, handling many high-profile cases. What does "in vino veritas" mean? In wine there is truth. In vino veritas is a Latin adage that translates to, in wine there is truth. This phrase suggests that individuals are more inclined to express their genuine thoughts, feelings, or true character when under the influence of alcohol. It reflects a widespread cultural belief regarding the disinhibiting effects of alcoholic beverages. 3 members of which family, between 1781 and 1850, discovered Uranus, compiled a star catalogue, mapped all the stars in the northern hemisphere, and founded an observatory to map those in the southern? Herschel. The Herschel family, most notably William, Caroline, and John Herschel, made monumental contributions to astronomy from the late 18th to mid-19th century. William Herschel famously discovered the planet Uranus in 1781, while he and his sister Caroline meticulously compiled extensive star catalogues. John Herschel continued their legacy by mapping the stars of the southern hemisphere, profoundly expanding humanity's understanding of the cosmos. Which country, with Monrovia as its capital, was founded by the American Colonization Society in 1820 as a home for freed slaves? Liberia. Liberia is a West African nation founded by the American Colonization Society in 1820, intended as a homeland for freed African American slaves. Its capital, Monrovia, is named after U.S. President James Monroe, reflecting its unique historical ties to the United States. What is an affliction of the nose, throat, upper air passages, and eyes caused by oversensitivity to proteins of pollen in certain plants? Hay fever. Hay fever, clinically known as allergic rhinitis, is an allergic reaction to pollen or dust mites. It manifests as inflammation of the nasal passages, often causing sneezing, congestion, and itchy, watery eyes, typically worse during spring and summer months. As whom did Muhammad Reza Pahlavi become better known? Shah of Iran. Muhammad Reza Pahlavi was the last Shah of Iran, reigning from 1941 until his overthrow in the 1979 Iranian Revolution. His rule was characterized by westernization efforts and a strong alliance with the United States, but also faced increasing domestic opposition due to authoritarianism. Which new year has ever started on the 16th of July? Islamic. The Islamic New Year, also known as the Hijri New Year, commemorates the Hijra, migration, of Prophet Muhammad from Makkah to Medina in 622 CE. The first day of the Islamic calendar, Muharram 1, corresponds to July 16, 622 CE in the Gregorian calendar, and since it is a lunar calendar, its start date shifts annually. Which planet has a diameter of approximately 7,700 miles and a mass 0.83 times that of the Earth? Venus. Venus is the second planet from the Sun and is often referred to as Earth's sister planet, due to its similar size and mass. It is known for its extremely hot surface temperatures, primarily due to a thick atmosphere of carbon dioxide causing a runaway greenhouse effect. Benjamin Franklin once wrote that nothing was certain in this world except death and what? Taxes. Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers of the United States, famously stated in a 1789 letter that, in this world nothing can be said to be certain, except death and taxes. This aphorism highlights the unavoidable nature of mortality and government levies. According to Greek legend, who ferried the souls of the dead across the river that divided the world of the living from that of the dead? Charon. Charon is the ferryman of the dead in Greek mythology. He transports the souls of the deceased across the river Styx and a chair on to the underworld, provided they have a coin, obol, placed under their tongue as payment for passage. Where in London, covering 350 acres, 140 hectares, would you find the Serpentine, an artificial lake, Rotten Row, for riding horses, and a bird sanctuary? Hyde Park. Hyde Park is one of London's largest royal parks, spanning 350 acres. It is famous for the Serpentine Lake, Rotten Row, historically used for horse riding, and its Speaker's Corner, a traditional site for public speeches and debates. An autobiography is about whom? The writer. An autobiography is a self-written account of the author's own life. It is distinct from a biography, which is an account of someone's life written by another person. Auditory refers to which of the senses? Hearing. The term, auditory, pertains to the sense of hearing, which is the ability to perceive sound. The auditory system in humans involves the ear, auditory nerve, and brain regions responsible for processing sound waves. The southernmost point of the USA is in which state? Hawaii. The southernmost point of the United States is located on the island of Hawaii, the Big Island, specifically at Kauai, also known as South Point. This geographical fact is important for understanding US geography. Which author disappeared on a walk along the River Ouse near Monk's House, Rodmull, Sussex, England, in March 1941, leaving letters for her husband Leonard and her sister, the painter Vanessa Bell? Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf, a prominent English writer and a pioneer of modernist literature, tragically drowned herself in the River Ouse in March 1941. Her works often explored themes of gender, class, and the individual's inner life, greatly influencing 20th century literature. What is the approximate duration of a year on the planet Mercury? 88 Earth days. Mercury, the closest planet to the Sun, has a very short orbital period. 1 year on Mercury is approximately 88 Earth days, meaning it completes an orbit around the Sun much faster than Earth. What is another name for the second magnitude star, Alpha, in the Little Bear constellation, which is the nearest conspicuous star to the north celestial pole? Pole star. The pole star, also known as Polaris or Alpha Ursae Minoris, is a bright star located very close to the north celestial pole. Due to its consistent position, it appears stationary in the sky and has historically been crucial for celestial navigation in the northern hemisphere. What is the capital of the province of Quebec, Canada? Quebec. Quebec City is the capital of the Canadian province of Quebec, situated at the confluence of the St. Lawrence and St. Charles rivers. It is renowned for its historic fortified core, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, making it one of the oldest and most culturally significant cities in North America. Which Ohio-born woman joined Buffalo Bill's Wild West show and was known as the greatest woman marksman of all time? Annie Oakley. Annie Oakley was an American sharpshooter and exhibition shooter who achieved international fame as a star performer in Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. Her extraordinary marksmanship and engaging stage presence made her a prominent cultural figure of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. 19th-century French engineer Ferdinand de Lesseps, having supervised the construction of the Suez Canal, was later famously tried and convicted for what? Mismanagement of the construction of the Panama Canal. Ferdinand de Lesseps, celebrated for successfully overseeing the Suez Canal's construction, later led a French attempt to build the Panama Canal. This ambitious project faced immense engineering challenges, devastating tropical diseases, and widespread financial corruption, ultimately leading to his conviction for fraud and mismanagement. What is another name for laughing gas? Nitrous oxide. Nitrous oxide, N2O, is a chemical compound commonly known as laughing gas, due to its euphoric and anesthetic properties when inhaled. It is widely utilized in medical and dental procedures for pain relief and sedation, as well as in various industrial applications. Which capital city is on the northern bank of the La Plata estuary? Montevideo. Montevideo is the capital and largest city of Uruguay, strategically located on the northern bank of the Rio de la Plata estuary. Its position makes it a major port city and a vital economic, cultural, and political hub for the nation. In what year was the German Empire, including all the German states except Austria, with the King of Prussia as emperor, founded? 1871. The German Empire was formally founded on January 18, 1871, following the Prussian victory in the Franco-Prussian War. King Wilhelm I of Prussia was proclaimed emperor, unifying numerous German states under Prussian leadership and significantly reshaping the political map of Europe. When the Olympic flame is about to be taken to the venue for the next Olympic Games, it is lit in which city? Athens. The Olympic flame is traditionally lit in Olympia, Greece, the historic site of the ancient Olympic Games, several months before the opening ceremony of the modern games. This symbolic ritual connects the contemporary event with its ancient origins and marks the start of the international torch relay to the host city. What is the name of the multi-sport event for athletes with physical and visual disabilities, including athletes with mobility disabilities, amputations, blindness, and cerebral palsy, that are held every 4 years, following the Olympic Games? The Paralympic Games. The Paralympic Games are a major international multi-sport event for athletes with disabilities, held every 4 years, typically after the Olympic Games. They promote inclusivity and showcase the athletic achievements of individuals with various physical impairments, symbolizing endurance and determination. What is the smallest interval in European music, of which 12 make an octave? Semitone. A semitone, also known as a half step, is the smallest musical interval commonly used in Western tonal music. 12 semitones constitute an octave, forming the fundamental building blocks of the chromatic scale and the Western tuning system. In which century was the Suez Canal opened? 19th. The Suez Canal, connecting the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea, was officially opened in 1869, firmly placing its inauguration in the 19th century. This vital artificial waterway revolutionized global trade by significantly shortening maritime routes between Europe and Asia. What is the name of the blocks that support rails for railway tracks? Sleepers. Sleepers, also known as railway ties, are rectangular supports placed perpendicularly beneath railway tracks. Their primary function is to maintain the correct gauge between the rails, evenly distribute the load from the rails to the ballast, and firmly anchor the track structure. What is the largest loch in Scotland? Loch Lomond. Loch Lomond is the largest freshwater loch in Scotland by surface area, located within the Loch Lomond and the Trossachs National Park. It is a significant geographical feature, marking part of the boundary between the Scottish lowlands and highlands, and is a popular natural landmark. What is pogonophobia the fear of? Beards. Pogonophobia is defined as an irrational and intense fear of beards. Like other specific phobias, it can cause significant distress and anxiety in affected individuals when confronted with beards or even when contemplating them. What city was founded on the island of Manhattan by Peter Minuit in 1626? New Amsterdam. New Amsterdam was a 17th-century Dutch settlement established by Peter Minuit in 1626 at the southern tip of Manhattan Island. It served as the capital of New Netherland until it was captured by the English in 1664 and subsequently renamed New York City. Before 1945, what was the city of Gdansk called? Danzig. Before 1945, the city of Gdansk was widely known by its German name, Danzig, reflecting centuries of complex historical and cultural influences. Its status as a free city and its strategic location on the Baltic Sea made it a significant geopolitical point, particularly during the interwar period and the onset of World War II. Which Sultan of Egypt ruled an expanding empire that included Syria, Mesopotamia, and most of Asia Minor, until stopped in 1192 by Richard I in the Third Crusade? Saladin. Saladin, Salah ad-Din Yusuf ibn Ayyub, was the first Sultan of Egypt and Syria and the founder of the Ayyubid dynasty. He is renowned for his military leadership during the Crusades, particularly for recapturing Jerusalem from the Crusaders in 1187 and successfully defending against the Third Crusade led by Richard I. His campaigns significantly shaped the political landscape of the Middle East in the 12th century. Where was a battle fought between General Robert E. Lee and General Meade from 1 to 3 July 1863, which is generally accepted as the turning point of the American Civil War? Gettysburg. The Battle of Gettysburg, fought from July 1 to 3, 1863, in Pennsylvania, was a pivotal engagement of the American Civil War. Union forces under Major General George G. Meade decisively repelled the Confederate invasion led by General Robert E. Lee. This battle, incurring the highest number of casualties of the entire war, is widely considered the turning point in favor of the Union. What was patented in London by Ralph Wedgwood in 1806? Carbon paper. Carbon paper, used for making instant copies of documents, was patented by Ralph Wedgwood in London in 1806. This invention significantly streamlined the process of document duplication before the advent of photocopiers and digital technologies. It played a crucial role in various administrative and commercial applications for nearly 2 centuries. What was invented by Elias Howe in 1846 and later improved by Isaac Merritt Singer? Sewing machine. The sewing machine was significantly developed by Elias Howe, who received a patent for his lock-stitch machine in 1846. Isaac Merritt-Singer later made key improvements, including a foot treadle and a continuous feed surface, which revolutionized its usability and commercial viability. Their inventions transformed textile production and domestic garment making. Who invented an early form of the fragmentation shell that was first used by the British Army in 1803? Henry Shrapnel. Henry Shrapnel, a British artillery officer, invented the fragmentation shell, commonly known as the shrapnel shell, in 1784. This explosive projectile, designed to scatter musket balls over a wide area, was first used by the British Army in 1803. His invention dramatically increased the effectiveness of artillery against infantry, and the term shrapnel is still used today to refer to fragments from an exploded shell. What painting medium consists of pigment suspended in water? Gouache. Gouache is a painting medium consisting of pigment suspended in water, similar to watercolor, but with added white pigment or chalk. This addition gives gouache an opaque, matte finish, allowing for strong, solid colors and the ability to paint light colors over dark. It is commonly used for illustrations, posters, and design work due to its vibrant and smooth application. Who was Queen of England between 1837 and 1901? Victoria. Queen Victoria reigned over the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland from 1837 until her death in 1901. Her 63-year reign, known as the Victorian era, was a period of significant industrial, cultural, political, scientific, and military change within the United Kingdom and a vast expansion of the British Empire. She became a national icon, and her reign is synonymous with British imperial power. What part of the body is affected by rheumatism? Joints. Rheumatism is a non-specific term referring to conditions causing chronic pain and inflammation in joints, muscles, or fibrous tissue. While not a single disease, it broadly describes various musculoskeletal disorders, with common symptoms including joint stiffness, swelling, and discomfort. What term refers to Nepalese soldiers recruited into the Indian Army? Gurkhas. Gurkhas are indigenous people of Nepal who have historically served as soldiers in the British and Indian armies. They are renowned globally for their bravery, loyalty, and martial prowess, with their tradition of service dating back to the Anglo-Nepalese War. Which river, the longest in France, flows into the Atlantic Ocean? Loire. The Loire River is the longest river in France, stretching approximately 1,000 kilometers from its source in the Cevennes Mountains to its estuary in the Atlantic Ocean. It is renowned for the historic chateaux that line its banks, forming a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Who was the American poet who collaborated with Mussolini to broadcast propaganda to the USA, was tried for treason in 1945, and was subsequently judged to be insane? Ezra Pound. Ezra Pound was an influential American modernist poet who spent much of his adult life in Europe. During World War II, he produced a series of radio broadcasts in Italy that were critical of the United States and aligned with fascist propaganda, leading to his arrest and charges of treason after the war. Eamon de Valera was a prominent politician in which country? Republic of Ireland. Eamon de Valera was a leading figure in Irish politics, serving as Taoiseach, Prime Minister, and President of Ireland for several terms. He was a key leader in Ireland's struggle for independence and played a foundational role in shaping the modern Irish state. What is claustrophobia the fear of? Confined spaces. Claustrophobia is an anxiety disorder defined by an irrational and intense fear of confined or enclosed spaces. Sufferers may experience panic attacks, shortness of breath, and a strong urge to escape when in situations like elevators, crowded rooms, or MRI scanners. Which family has been awarded the most Nobel Prizes? Curie. The Curie family, notably Marie Curie, her husband Pierre, and their daughter Irene Joliot-Curie and son-in-law Frédéric Joliot, collectively received 5 Nobel Prizes for their pioneering work in radioactivity. Marie Curie herself won 2 Nobel Prizes, one in physics, 1903, and one in chemistry, 1911, making her the only person to win Nobel Prizes in 2 different scientific fields. To what is Lake Erie connected by the Erie Canal? Hudson River. The Erie Canal is a historic waterway in New York, connecting Lake Erie to the Hudson River, which then flows into the Atlantic Ocean. Completed in 1825, it revolutionized trade and transportation, fostering the economic growth of New York City and the American Midwest by providing a crucial link between the Great Lakes and the East Coast. What standard unit of distance was originally defined as 1/10,000th of the quadrant of the Earth's meridian? Meter. The meter was originally defined in 1791 by the French Academy of Sciences as 1/10,000,000th of the distance from the North Pole to the equator along a specific meridian, through Paris. This definition aimed to create a universal and natural standard of measurement. While the definition has since evolved to be based on the speed of light, this historical context is key to understanding its origin. Andy Warhol is associated with what sort of art? Pop. Andy Warhol was a leading figure in the pop art movement, which emerged in the 1950s and challenged traditional fine art by incorporating imagery from popular culture such as advertising, comic books, and mundane mass-produced objects. His iconic works often featured silkscreen prints of celebrity portraits, consumer products, and everyday items. Which section of the British forces made a famous charge against Russian forces at Balaklava on the 25th of October 1854 during the Crimean War? The Light Brigade. The charge of the Light Brigade was a disastrous but heroic cavalry charge by the British Light Brigade against Russian forces during the Battle of Balaklava on October 25, 1854, as part of the Crimean War. Due to miscommunication, the brigade charged directly into a heavily fortified Russian artillery battery, resulting in heavy casualties. The event was immortalized by Alfred Lord Tennyson's poem, highlighting themes of military obedience and sacrifice. What alternative name was used in Israel during the 2009 global outbreak of swine flu, H1N1? Mexico flu. In 2009, during the global H1N1 influenza pandemic, commonly known as swine flu, Israel adopted the term, Mexico flu, to avoid any religious sensitivities or dietary implications associated with the term, swine. This decision aimed to prevent public misunderstanding or unnecessary alarm within a population where pork consumption is often restricted. What is the traditional name for someone who draws up contracts? Scrivener. A scrivener is traditionally a person who draws up, drafts, or copies documents, especially legal contracts, wills, and deeds. In historical contexts, scriveners played a crucial role before the widespread use of typewriters and computers, acting as public notaries or clerks responsible for accurate record keeping and document preparation. Which famous artist and ornithologist is the son of an Antarctic explorer and adventurer? Peter Scott. Sir Peter Scott was a renowned British ornithologist, conservationist, painter, and yachtsman, famous for founding the Worldwide Fund for Nature, WWF, and his wildlife art. He was the son of Captain Robert Falcon Scott, the famous Antarctic explorer who led the ill-fated Terra Nova expedition to the South Pole, and dedicated his life to conservation. In 1953, Ethel and Julius Rosenberg were executed in the USA for spying for which country? Soviet Union. Ethel and Julius Rosenberg were American citizens executed in 1953 after being convicted of espionage for passing atomic bomb secrets to the Soviet Union during the Cold War. Their case remains highly controversial, raising debates about McCarthyism, anti-communist hysteria, and the fairness of their trial and sentencing. What is the term for a shallow river crossing suitable for vehicles? Ford. A ford is a shallow place in a river or stream where it is possible to cross safely by wading or driving. Historically, settlements and trade routes often developed around such natural crossing points. The Pan-American Highway, a vast network of roads linking the mainland nations of the Americas, has an 87 kilometers, 54-mile, unlinked stretch. What is this section called? Darien Gap. The Darien Gap is a large, undeveloped section of jungle and marshland that interrupts the Pan-American Highway between Panama and Colombia. This geographical barrier presents significant challenges for construction due to its dense environment and political complexities. Which biological fluid is classified into groups A, B, AB, and O? Blood. Human blood is classified into ABO groups based on the presence or absence of specific antigens on red blood cells. This system is critical for ensuring compatibility during blood transfusions to prevent adverse immune reactions. Who is credited with nailing his 95 Theses to the door of the All Saints Church in Wittenberg on the 31st of October 1517, initiating the Protestant Reformation? Martin Luther. Martin Luther's posting of the 95 Theses is widely regarded as the catalyst for the Protestant Reformation. His theses challenged the practice of selling indulgences and questioned fundamental theological doctrines, leading to a significant schism within Western Christianity. Who developed a practical system for classifying fingerprints, which became widely adopted for forensic identification? Sir Edward Henry. Sir Edward Henry devised the Henry classification system for fingerprints in the late 19th century while serving in British India. This system provided a standardized method for filing and retrieving fingerprint records, revolutionizing forensic science and criminal identification worldwide. Cotswold, Southdown, Dorset, Lonk, and Lincoln are well-known breeds of which domesticated animal? Sheep. These are all distinct breeds of domestic sheep, each recognized for specific characteristics such as wool quality, meat production, or hardiness in various environments. The development of diverse sheep breeds reflects centuries of selective breeding for different agricultural purposes. What is the capital of the archipelago in the South Atlantic Ocean called the Falkland Islands? Stanley. Stanley is the capital of the Falkland Islands, a British overseas territory located in the South Atlantic Ocean. It serves as the primary administrative, commercial, and communication hub for the islands. How was Joan of Arc killed in 1431 after she was captured by the Burgundians, sold to the English and tried by an ecclesiastical court? Burnt at the stake. Joan of Arc, a national heroine of France and a Roman Catholic saint, was executed by burning at the stake in Rouen in 1431. This occurred after she was captured by the Burgundians during the 100 Years' War, sold to the English, and subsequently tried by an English-backed ecclesiastical court for heresy. Irish is one of the official languages of the Republic of Ireland. What is the other? English. The Republic of Ireland officially recognizes two languages, Irish, Gaelic, and English. While Irish holds the status of the national and first official language, English is widely spoken and serves as the second official language, reflecting the country's historical and cultural landscape. The excavation of what city, destroyed in 79 AD, was begun in 1748? Pompeii. Pompeii was an ancient Roman city located near modern Naples, famously buried and preserved by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. Systematic archaeological excavations of the site, which began in 1748, have provided invaluable insights into Roman daily life, architecture, and art. What does the Italian word piazza mean? Open space or square. The Italian word piazza translates to an open public space, typically a city square. These central areas are fundamental to Italian urban design and social life, often serving as gathering places, markets, and venues for public events. Where is the stretch of water called the Solent? Between the Isle of Wight and the coast of England. The Solent is a significant strait located in England, separating the Isle of Wight from the mainland. This waterway is crucial for navigation and holds historical importance, having served as a strategic naval passage. The theatres for which war included North Africa, the Philippines, Italy, Germany and Crete. World War II. World War II was a global conflict from 1939 to 1945, involving most nations. Its vast geographical scope included major theaters of operations such as North Africa, the Philippines, Italy, Germany, and Crete, highlighting the widespread nature of the hostilities. Mount Etna and the plain of Catania are on which island? Sicily. Mount Etna, one of the world's most active stratovolcanoes, and the fertile plain of Catania are prominent geographical features on the island of Sicily. Sicily is the largest island in the Mediterranean Sea, strategically located off the southern tip of the Italian peninsula. Which Irish dramatist wrote The Rivals and The School for Scandal? Richard Brinsley Butler Sheridan. Richard Brinsley Butler Sheridan was a celebrated Irish dramatist and politician of the 18th century. His most renowned plays, The Rivals, 1775, and The School for Scandal, 1777, are classic comedies of manners, celebrated for their sharp wit and social satire. What was the name given to a type of xylophone consisting of large stones, dating from 2500 to 4000 BC found in China? Lithophone. A lithophone is an ancient musical instrument composed of carefully tuned stones, which produce musical notes when struck. Discoveries of such instruments in China, dating back to 2500 to 4000 BC, illustrate the early development of complex musical devices from natural materials. When was the first transatlantic telephone cable service opened? 1956. The first transatlantic telephone cable, known as TAT-1, became operational in 1956, connecting Clarenville, Newfoundland, with Oban, Scotland. This technological breakthrough significantly advanced global communication by enabling reliable voice calls across the Atlantic Ocean for the first time. Where in the human body is the scapula located? Shoulder. The scapula, commonly referred to as the shoulder blade, is a large, flat, triangular bone positioned in the posterior aspect of the shoulder girdle. It plays a crucial role in the movement and stability of the shoulder joint, articulating with the humerus and clavicle. The River Nile is located on which continent? Africa. The River Nile, often recognized as one of the world's longest rivers, flows primarily through northeastern Africa. It holds immense historical, geographical, and economic significance for the numerous countries it traverses, most notably Egypt and Sudan. Which Irish-born British admiral and hydrographer created a standard scale in 1805 for naval officers to report wind speed? Sir Francis Beaufort. Sir Francis Beaufort, an Irish-born British rear admiral, developed the Beaufort Wind Force Scale in 1805. This empirical scale provided a standardized method for estimating and reporting wind speeds based on observed sea conditions, greatly enhancing maritime safety and navigation. What is the name given to the silent electrical discharge that can occur between the atmosphere and pointed objects like trees, ships' masts, steeples, and flagpoles? St. Elmo's Fire. St. Elmo's Fire is a meteorological phenomenon characterized by a continuous, luminous plasma discharge created by a coronal discharge from a pointed object in a strong electric field, such as during a thunderstorm. It appears as a glow and is often seen on ship masts, aircraft wings, or tall structures, indicating high atmospheric electrical activity. Who is Joseph Smith, known as the founder of Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? Joseph Smith Jr. founded the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, often called the Mormon Church, in 1830 in Fayette, New York. He claimed to have received revelations from God, including the Book of Mormon, which serves as a sacred text alongside the Bible for its followers. Which nation is traditionally the first to enter at the opening ceremony of every Olympic Games? Greece. Greece is traditionally the first nation to enter the stadium during the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games. This tradition honors Greece as the birthplace of the ancient Olympic Games and the site of the first modern Olympic Games held in 1896. Which monotheistic, Abrahamic religious movement accepts Haile Selassie I, the former and final emperor of Ethiopia, as the incarnation of God, called Jah? Rastafarian. Rastafarianism is an Abrahamic religious and political movement that emerged in Jamaica in the 1930s. Its adherents believe Haile Selassie I, the former emperor of Ethiopia, to be the living incarnation of God, referred to as Jah. What is the next number in the sequence 0, 4, 36, 1444? 2,090,916. The sequence follows the pattern where each subsequent number is obtained by adding 2 to the previous number and then squaring the result. Thus, if the previous number is x, the next number is x plus 2 squared. Applying this, 1444 plus 2 squared equals 1446 to the power of 2 equals 2,090,916. A liter is a measure of what? Volume. A liter, international spelling, or liter, American spelling, is a metric unit of volume. It is commonly used for measuring liquids and is equivalent to 1 cubic decimeter, dm cubed, or 1000 cubic centimeters, cm cubed. Which avant-garde art movement, pioneered by Pablo Picasso and Georges Braque around 1906, revolutionized European painting and sculpture and inspired related movements in music and literature? Cubism. Cubism was an influential avant-garde art movement developed by Pablo Picasso and Georges Braque in the early 20th century. It revolutionized European painting and sculpture by fragmenting subjects into geometric shapes and depicting multiple viewpoints simultaneously, profoundly impacting modern art. What 14th-century federation of free cities, which developed extensive trade with foreign countries, had its headquarters in Lubeck? Hanseatic League. The Hanseatic League was a powerful medieval commercial and defensive confederation of merchant guilds and market towns in northern and central Europe. Flourishing from the 13th to the 17th century, it played a pivotal role in trade and economic development across the Baltic and North Seas, with Lubeck serving as its de facto capital. By what title was Louis XIV of France known? The Sun King. Louis XIV, King of France from 1643 to 1715, was famously known as the Sun King, Le Roi Soleil. This epithet symbolized his absolute power and the centralized, radiant glory of the French monarchy during his reign, which was one of the longest in European history. What is the role of the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem? An Islamic official. The Grand Mufti of Jerusalem is the senior religious authority for Sunni Muslims in Jerusalem and Palestine. The office holds significant religious, social, and political influence, historically playing a crucial role in the administration of Islamic holy sites and jurisprudence in the region. What is the term for a period of isolation used to prevent the spread of infectious disease? Quarantine. Quarantine is a public health measure involving the isolation of individuals or groups who have been exposed to a contagious disease but are not yet symptomatic. Its purpose is to prevent the spread of infection by limiting contact with healthy populations during the incubation period of the disease. The Belgian Revolution, which began in 1830 following a performance at the Brussels Opera, led to the secession of the southern provinces from which kingdom to establish an independent Kingdom of Belgium. United Kingdom of the Netherlands. The Belgian Revolution of 1830 led to the secession of the southern provinces from the United Kingdom of the Netherlands, ultimately establishing the independent Kingdom of Belgium. This revolt was fueled by religious, linguistic, and economic differences between the predominantly Catholic, French-speaking South and the Protestant, Dutch-speaking North. What city served as the capital of Russia from 1712 to 1918? St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg served as the imperial capital of Russia for over 2 centuries, from 1712 until 1918. Founded by Peter the Great in 1703, it was a major European cultural and political center before the capital was moved back to Moscow after the Russian Revolution.